My self-centered sister accused me of an unthinkable act, and my parents permitted authorities to remove me from our home. Years later, her stunning admission unveiled a truth they never anticipated. I'm Eric, 33, male, and this is the tale of how my sister, whom I'll name Lily, shattered my existence with one falsehood and the consequences that ensued. To fully comprehend the impact, you must know how things were before it all fell apart. Growing up, Lily and I were incredibly close, tighter than most siblings despite our 4-year age gap. We were each other's confidants, true friends in a way that seemed effortless then. It's odd to reflect on now, considering what transpired, but back then it was just our reality. I wasn't a stellar student, academics were tough, and I barely passed most classes. But I had a passion for electronics, not programming but the tangible, hands-on work. I loved taking apart old devices, radios, remotes, anything I could grab from thrift shops or yard sales. By 16, my room was a workshop filled with soldering irons, voltmeters, and stacks of circuit boards and cables. My parents found it peculiar, especially since I'd lock my door while working, a detail that becomes significant later. But Lily, she got it. She was just 10 when I dove deep into my hobby, and she'd spend hours in my room watching me tinker. She'd ask about the function of each part or why I connected things a certain way. Sometimes she'd organize my components or hold pieces steady while I soldered. It was our routine, our little world. Our parents had clear favorites. Lily was their pride, straight-A student, cheerleader, debate club star, the full package. I was the kid barely getting by, either tinkering with electronics or hanging out at the skate park. Yet Lily always had my back. I recall getting caught smoking behind the school gym in my junior year, facing suspension. Lily concocted a tale about me holding a cigarette for a friend who fled. She even cried in front of the principal, begging them to see I was trying to improve. It worked. She also tutored me, explaining schoolwork in ways teachers never could. Without her, I might not have graduated. I watched out for her, too, as the older brother, perhaps overly protective. Any guy who got too close had to face me. I wasn't aggressive, just made my presence known. Even when I started hanging with a rough crowd, staying out late, Lily never judged. She'd cover for me, making excuses when I missed curfew. Once I stumbled home at 3 a.m., and there she was, waiting on the porch to ensure I was safe. In hindsight, maybe our bond raised suspicions, but it felt natural then. She was my little sister, my partner, the one who truly understood me. Our parents pushed me toward conventional activities, sports, school clubs, but I always returned to my circuits. They saw it as a dead end, but Lily defended me. "He's gifted at this," she'd say. "Let him do what he loves." That's the Lily I cling to, the one who brought me snacks while I worked, who supported me when no one else did, who shared her secrets with me. This is harder to write than I thought. The collapse began when I was 18, just out of high school. Lily was 16, starting to attract attention at school. As her protective brother, I kept the boys at bay, not with violence, just stern warnings. There was this one guy, Ryan, a senior with a fancy car his parents bought, the typical entitled kid. I caught him trying to lure Lily into skipping class. I shouldn't have shoved him against his car, but he was 18, trying to pull my 16-year-old sister into something sketchy. What brother wouldn't react? That's when the rumors started. At first, it was just chatter at Lily's school about how intense I was about her. Then it got darker. Someone spread a vile rumor that my protectiveness stemmed from perverse feelings for her, disgusting, unimaginable lies. I sensed something was wrong one Tuesday after school. Usually, Lily would join me in my room while I worked on a project, but that day, she went straight to hers. When I knocked to check on her, she snapped at me to go away. Later, I found her crying in the kitchen. I tried to console her, as always, but she flinched when I reached out, something she'd never done. She mumbled about being drained and retreated to her room. The next few days were strange. She stopped visiting my room, stopped talking to me entirely. I chalked it up to teenage moodiness. Then one morning, as I was fixing an old radio, there was a knock at the door, not a casual tap, but a heavy, ominous thud that sent a chill through me. 2 police officers and a woman in a suit stood there when my dad opened the door. They asked to speak to him privately. I caught snippets of their conversation from the kitchen but couldn't make out details. Then my dad summoned me. His face, I'll never forget it. He looked at me like I was a stranger. The woman introduced herself as being from Child Protective Services, CPS. They wanted to discuss my relationship with Lily. My heart sank. Lily had gone to her school counselor and claimed I'd been, God, it's hard to write, abusing her. She said that's why I locked my door, that I coerced her into my room for horrible acts, that I threatened her if she spoke out, that my protectiveness was about control, not care. She even claimed my electronics were a cover, that my tools and wires were for something sinister. My dad didn't question it. He just stood there nodding, as if my locked door and odd hobby suddenly made sense. I tried to show them my projects, the half-fixed radio, the bins of circuit boards. I explained how Lily used to sit with me, sorting parts, asking questions. But they'd already made up their minds. The CPS woman asked loaded questions. Did I make Lily feel special by involving her in my work? Did I tell her she was unique? Every answer I gave was twisted against me. They brought up the Ryan incident, but in their version I attacked him out of jealousy, not protection. Lily claimed I was possessive, unable to handle her growing up and liking other boys. I broke down in front of them. "Lily, why are you saying this?" I begged. She wouldn't meet my eyes, just clutched herself like she was scared. "Dad, you know me," I said, turning to him. "I'd never do this." His reply was icy. "Don't make this harder than it is." When I asked Lily again, her eyes darted to the CPS woman, the cops, our dad, and she whispered, "I'm sorry, Eric." That's when it hit me. She wasn't backing down. She was too entrenched in her lie, too afraid to admit the truth. I let out a hollow, bitter laugh. "You're really doing this?" Lily clutched herself tighter, muttering about not being able to hold it in anymore. My dad's jaw clenched. "Pack your things, we're going to the station." And just like that, without a trial or solid evidence, my dad drove me to the police station, silent, as if I were no longer his son. At the station, they crafted a narrative that fit their story. The withdrawn older brother, the strange hobby, the overprotective behavior. The interview room was like something out of a crime drama, stark, cold, unnerving. They left me there for hours before two detectives entered. The male one, Carter, played the good cop, saying, "We just want to help you, Eric. Tell us your side." The female detective, whose name escapes me, scribbled notes and glared at me like I was filth. Carter asked about my electronics. I explained how I repaired old devices, built circuits, nothing complex. "And Lily helped you?" he asked. "Yeah, she'd sort parts or hold things while I worked." "She was curious," the female detective pounced. "So you had her alone in your room, door locked, handling your tools?" They twisted everything. "The locked door, I said it was to keep my tools safe. Dad would borrow them and not return them." "Or maybe," Carter said, his tone shifting, "you locked it for other reasons." They had a file, Lily's story about abuse starting when she was 12, how I used my hobby to isolate her, how I got aggressive when she started pulling away. It was all fabricated, but they'd built a case. They had photos of my room, staged to look sinister, close-ups of wires, tools, zip ties I used for cable management. "Your father says you spent hours alone with Lily in here," Carter said. "What really happened?" I shouted that they were turning innocent moments into something sick. That was a mistake. Carter nodded to his partner. Typical defensive behavior. They hammered me with my poor grades, lack of friends, time alone, painting me as a loner obsessed with his sister. My lawyer, a public defender who barely tried, pushed for a plea deal. "If this goes to trial, you're looking at 20 years, she said. "Juries believe victims, and Lily's young, emotional, convincing." My parents hired a lawyer for Lily but left me to fend for myself. My dad visited once before I took the deal. "Admit what you did," he said. "Don't put your sister through a trial." I begged him to believe me, but he just said, "I thought I knew you." I took the plea, no contest, to sexual assault of a minor. 5 years probation, lifetime on the sex offender registry. I plead if I was innocent. Because they break you. They twist your life until you question yourself. When everyone, your family, the police, your lawyer, thinks you're guilty, fighting feels pointless. The registry destroyed me in ways I never foresaw. It's not just the big restrictions, no living near schools, no certain jobs. It's the small moments. I tried renting an apartment. The landlord was ready to sign until she ran a background check. Her expression changed and she stepped back. "I have grandkids who visit, you understand?" That was my life, people treating me like a monster. Jobs were nearly impossible. Most places rejected me once they saw the registry box checked. I finally got hired by a man named Tom, who ran a small factory and gave chances to ex-cons and recovering addicts. The pay was low, the work exhausting, but it was something. "I don't care about your past," Tom said. "Just show up and work." I lasted 2 years until a coworker found out and caused a stir, saying it wasn't safe to work with me. Tom let me go. I can't lose my whole team. I lost my apartment and lived in my car, using a Planet Fitness membership to shower. I'd park in Walmart lots to sleep. where security usually didn't bother you. The hardest part was watching life pass me by. Through old friends' social media, I saw Lily graduate high school, attend college on a scholarship, meet a wealthy guy named Mark at a university event. Meanwhile, I was eating canned soup in my car, scouting safe parking spots. I tried dating once, a woman named Emily from a job. Things were good until I explained the registry and why I had to check addresses before going anywhere. I told her I was innocent, but she said she needed time. The next day, her brother and his friends showed up at my work. I quit that job. 2A librarian at a small local branch became my lifeline. She never pried but seemed to understand my situation. She'd leave electronics manuals and technical books for me to find. One day, she saw me browsing online courses and helped me find free ones. "Learning is for everyone," she said. She was the only person who treated me like a human in years. Through those courses, I got into cryptocurrency, something I could do without background checks. I excelled at the technical side, made some money trading. What broke me, though, was seeing Lily's social media. People lauded her as a survivor, praising her courage for overcoming trauma. She wrote an article for her college paper about her experience. Meanwhile, I was scraping by, a shadow in my own life. I thought about clearing my name, but who'd believe me? Lily was the perfect student. I was the registered offender. Then everything changed. It was a random Tuesday at my new factory job when I got an email from a private investigator, John. I nearly deleted it, thinking it was a scam, but he sent proof, court files, case documents. We met at a diner outside town. John had a thick folder. "Your sister's story is falling apart," he said, spreading out papers. Mark, her husband, hired him because Lily was acting erratically, drinking heavily, paranoid, crying over old photos. John found inconsistencies in her story, timelines that didn't align with school records, contradictory witness statements. The bombshell. Ryan, the senior she dated, wasn't just a fling. They'd been caught together in his car, doing things she didn't want our parents to know about. Fearing I'd tell, she fabricated the accusations to shift focus, thinking it'd just get me sent away, not ruin my life. John had texts from Lily to her friends, planning the lie as a last resort. She didn't expect it to escalate, but when Dad believed her, she couldn't retract. John showed me a confession Mark got from her after confronting her with the evidence. "This won't fix everything," John warned. "The system hates admitting it's wrong." I spent that night reading her texts, her confession, even forum posts where she asked how to make abuse claims convincing. I hired a real lawyer and filed for post-conviction relief. The confession and John's evidence were enough to vacate my conviction and remove me from the registry. It took months, but the judge ruled in my favor. My record was cleared. I should have felt relief, Joy, but all I could think about was the lost years. A week later, an envelope arrived from my parents, their first contact in a decade. Inside was a letter in my dad's stiff handwriting, saying Lily had admitted some errors. They wanted to meet and included a $50,000 check, as if money could erase a decade of being an outcast. I laughed bitterly. They still thought they could buy fixes. I called Mark, Lily's husband. "Eric who?" he said cautiously. "Lily's brother," I replied, silence then a grim chuckle. "She never mentioned a brother." I told him everything. "I'm divorcing her," he said. "I have a kid with her and she lied about this." I told him he deserved better and hung up. Lily's social media apology followed. A vague post about misremembering as a teen, portraying herself as a confused victim. It didn't save her. Mark got full custody of their child, her teaching job ended, and her lies unraveled further. She'd falsely accused others, too. My parents noticed her erratic behavior, outbursts, drinking, disappearing. During an argument with Mom, Lily slipped, saying I wouldn't have suffered if Dad hadn't overreacted. That sparked their doubts, leading to Mark hiring John. When Mom called, sobbing, she begged me to meet. "Lily's broken," she said. "She can't live with what she did." They asked me to forgive her. Forgive after she stole my life. I agreed to meet, not for reconciliation, but to make them face the truth. We met at a restaurant. Mom cried when she saw me. Dad looked broken. They apologized, said they wanted to rebuild, even offered more money. I cut them off, reading Lily's texts aloud, watching their faces as they realized how calculated her lie was. "She was scared," Mom said weakly. "She was a kid." "So was I snapped. "Where was my defense?" I told them about living in my car, the jobs I lost, the scars on my wrists from my darkest days. Mom ran to the bathroom, sick. Dad stared at the table. They begged to fix things, to be a family again. "You stopped being my family when you chose her lie over me," I said. Mom reached for my hand. I pulled away. "How do you fix a decade?" I asked. They had no answer. I left them there, their guilt heavy in the silence. They'd believed the lie, and I'd paid the price. Now they'd live with the truth. If you connected with this story and felt its emotional weight, please give it a like, share it with others, and subscribe for more real-life stories and heartfelt experiences. Your support means everything and helps us share more content like this. Thank you for reading, and I'll see you in the next story.